for the new facility will be brand new. Some of the, no, that's fine. That's fine. Go ahead. So let's talk a little bit about some of our operational projections and some of the numbers. If you take a look here, and I know it may be small for those of you in the back, but currently you see our current budget, 2019, it's listed. You see the first line reads ice rink and camp program revenues. In 2019, we're expected to get $1,150,000 in revenue. On the ice rink, first line under expenditures, $1.2 million in expenditures. I want to highlight that because, again, some of the information out here in the community, we want to make sure it's accurate. The ice rink side of this building makes money. The ice rink side of this building makes money. The community side, or the non-ice side of the building, look at my revenue, $501,000, $500,000. The expenses is $928,000. That side of the building, we lose money on. And so, for me overall, the objective as the Parks and Rec Director, I have to hit that expense line, $2.1 million at the end of the day. That's what I'm allowed to spend between them two funds. But I want people to understand the ice side of the operations helps subsidize the non-ice side of the operation. Overall, so philosophically, as a Parks and Rec Director, we get $6 million as a budget, and we provide $12 million worth of programming throughout the city. We make that other $6 million up in our fees and for activities and programs. But Parks and Recreation is a quality of life service that I truly believe that the residents deserve in this community. So it is fair that your city pays or subsidizes for it. I'm not a park district. I'm not able to come and tax you separately than what the city does, right? So the money I get from the general fund, that $6 million, we put our budget together, we have to go make up $6 million, and we do that, and we provide $12 million worth of service. So by definition, this is a service that the residents have said that this is what they want. So I'm not a business enterprise, and I'm not supposed to pay for myself. The residents and the council have prioritized that. So I just want you guys to understand from the numbers that, yes, my department is a subsidy department, period. It's not just this building, it's the entire department. But you, the residents, has told us this is our priority, so we are okay with paying for that service. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to the next presenter, which is Kate. We're gonna. I think we want to do questions. Just hold your questions.
It relates to this slide.
But we'll come to it. They want to do questions at the end of the presentation. So if that's okay, I'll be happy to come back to it. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kate Lewis-Lakin. I am now the budget coordinator for the city of Evanston. And I'm going to walk you through some of the financing on the project. These are going to be some slides that have a lot of numbers on them, just like this one. I wanted to let you all know, too, that we will be putting up this presentation on the website after this meeting is over, so you'll be able to come back to those at any time. Sure. Erica Sorley, our Assistant City Manager, is up here, too, and she just wanted to point out on that last slide that we will be reducing the operating deficit in the new center. Part of the revenue that will be made in the new center will also be going every year into a maintenance fund specifically for the facility. So in our planning for the operations of the facility, we are planning on putting aside financing for the maintenance in the future as well. Going over the funding plan for the entire project. This is a chart that's been at a number of city council meetings. This funding plan was determined Last summer, I think it was about finalized when we sold the first round of bonds on the project, as well as when the guaranteed maximum price contract was sold for the construction. So you'll see at the top, these are all the financing sources. Starting 2016-17, there were a small amount of bonds issued for some of the early engineering for the project. 2018 was when our first bond issue went out. That was $25 million, and that happened last year. In addition, the library issued bonds for $1.25 million through the project. That will be reviewed again, paid back by the library fund specifically. In 2019, we expect to receive $5 million in donations from the Friends of the Robert Crown Center. That is already cash that group has on hand from their donations. And we are working on getting that money into the city's bank account. After that, we also have some transfers from some of our internal sources, and then we expect our 2019 bond issue to be another $16.5 billion. This is again still a projection based on how numbers are looking by the summer when we go out to bond on that. In terms of the project expenses, again, this is a $53 million construction project. That number was set again last spring, last summer, when the construction contract was signed. This is a slide showing some of the fundraising that's been done by the Friends of the Robert Crown for the project, as well as many of their donations have been received in multi-year pledges. So this is a little bit of a forecast as of as of mid-January of where their money, when their money will be coming in over the years. And how this will work is we will be accepting their $5 million donation from the Friends to the city in this year to help pay for construction. What's received in the future will be taken as it comes, and then we will be using that to help pay for the debt service on the bonds that will be issued. So again, from a fundraising commitment of $5 million, $15 million, $5 million will be given this year for the construction. The additional $10 million will be given over the next 5 to 10 years for the repayment of bonds. A summary of the debt that we're expecting to issue for completion on this project. This is the principal on the first column, interest on the second column, and again, this will then be the amount that will be paid off over the 25-year life of the bonds that will be issued. We're projecting again to issue about $16.5 million in bonds this year for the rest of the project, and that will be the last bond issue needed for the project. At the end of the day, $10 million of those bonds, principal and interest, will be paid back by donations from Friends of the Robert Crown, with the additional 60 paid from city sources. Just a note on looking at the city's overall debt service at the moment. So the debt payment for the Crown project in 2019 is 5% of the city and library's total debt service. So every year we issue bonds for a number of capital projects throughout the city. This includes projects for our water fund, for our water system, for our sewer system, for all of our roads, for many of our parks and other facilities. We issue those bonds every year. We have fluctuating amounts of debt as you know, over the history of the city. This year, the payment that we'll be making on the bonds for the Crown project is 5% of that debt service. Again, just running through some of those numbers. In 2020, we project that debt service payment to go up to about $1.8 million. Much of that will be paid for, again, by additional money that we're able to receive in 2020 from the Friends of Robert Crown. And that will continue 2021 throughout the cycle of those bonds. Again, one more chart just showing the city's overall outstanding debt. So this starts, I know these numbers are very small, but it starts over in 2010, goes out to our projections for 2019 and 2020, when all of the bonds that will be issued for the project will have already been issued. So you can see these orange bars at the top. This is the debt specifically for the Crown project. So we were bringing down our debt a bit in anticipation of a larger project coming online. We issued last year's 2018 bonds, and then we'll be issuing the 2019 bonds, and then we expect outstanding debt to stay level from that point. Again, Without a major project like this, our annual debt, we tend to retire about the same amount as we issue.
Can you read that top number?
Sorry, the top number for the projected debt in 2020 at the end of the project would be $269 million.
All right, so I'm going to cover a little bit about usage agreements and naming rights. So Friends of Crown, as we've talked about, has been working hard to raise money to help us build this center, and along with that comes usage agreements and naming rights. So there's several components of the building that they're selling naming rights for, and in exchange for that, we get a capital donation that helps to fund the center. So there's 3 or 4 naming rights that will come to the city council probably in April or May. Of course, the Robert Crown name will never change. That is continuing on in perpetuity, but the remaining spaces, lobbies, multi-purpose rooms, etc., if they're going to have a naming right associated with it, those are going to be 10 to 15-year terms. It's pretty much the life cycle of things like that. And then we're working on 4 usage agreements. As you saw in the earlier slide, all those revenues, we need to have a stable source of revenue so that we can continue to fund operations and all of the great things that the center does. So we need to have these usage agreements on paper, giving us some stability to plan for the future. So there's 4 usage agreements that we're working on right now, ranging from 3 years to 7 years. In addition, everybody that is making donations to the center for capital, they're also paying separate usage fees. So they're going to be paying for their gym time, or paying for their ice time, or paying for their field usage. And then, other thing, it's important to have that stable base of revenue so we know what to expect in years to come and we can accurately plan. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Karen, and she's going to talk a little bit about the library side of this.
Who are those organizations?
Sorry, just to be respectful to everybody in the audience, I'm going to take all the questions at the end.
Good evening, everyone. For those of you that I haven't met before, I'm Karen Jancek-Lyons. I'm your library director, and as we prepare for Valentine's Day tomorrow, I'm so happy that you're here, and I hope that you're feeling love towards the library. I love this project. I think it's an important addition to our constellation of services. It's in a location that makes sense, and I love the fact that we're marrying a branch library with a larger community center. This is something that has been successfully operated in Canada for some time, but it's new to the United States, and it's certainly new to the Midwest. And I hope that as we proceed, you'll agree that it makes sense and that you're glad that we're a new addition. Before I joined you, I spent more than 20 years at Chicago Public Library, where I was part of the team that constructed or renovated 54 libraries. And so that thinking has helped inform this branch that we're building for you. And think of it as a hybrid between our main library and one of the branches. So all the best of each of those service delivery footprints is going to come to you in Robert Crown, and some things that we've not seen before. I'm going to talk to you about 3 areas tonight, and I'm going to invite you to continue the conversation after tonight. I've got a clipboard, and one of the important parts we're at in terms of where we're at with Robert Crown is we want to co-create the programs in this library together with you. And so there's this clipboard going around. If you want to be part of conversations, please give us your contact information so we can learn from you what is most valuable for your family, your children, how we can help you reach your aspirations, and be sure that what we provide to you serves your needs. So we're going to have 3 pieces of this that I'm going to be highlighting: access, learning and literacy, and engagement to meet your diverse needs. Some of the photos up here are taken from the main branch, some of them are taken from the neighborhood branches, but we serve all ages, and we serve all ages in ways that we hope are meaningful to them. we're lucky because we get to see children and residents in out of work, out of school time. And we can provide access to not only books and materials, but access to our wonderful staff. And so some of you may recognize our staff from being in the library and out and about. But on the lower right-hand corner, I'm not sure if you've met our new social worker and our new Latino engagement coordinator. We have a wonderful staff that are creative, that are committed, and they want to provide you with access to services. So they will move around and bring programs from the other libraries here, and we'll see what works. And hopefully, they'll all work beautifully. We're happy to expand our services and provide access here. So if your children are on the ice rink or they're in the gym, and you have other ones that are tired or you need better Wi-Fi access, you can come to the library, and we're there to help you. Next slide. So from our earliest learners, early literacy and learning, we know that if children go to kindergarten ready to learn, if they're reading at grade level in third grade, then we're setting them up for success. So if you're a new parent and you're not quite sure, this is exciting but scary, we've got LabSit programs, we've got librarians who can talk to you about how to make learning fun and how to do it together with other new parents. We're more than books, but we love books, and we hope that you do too. It's an important way that we encourage reading independently and in groups. Countdown to kindergarten, that is something that is so important, and we're spending a lot of time on that, especially over the summer, connecting some of our rising kindergartners with some special one-on-one help. We're also concentrating on growing our next generation of scientists, and certainly girls are an important part of our new scientists, but children of color who are underrepresented in the science, we're providing targeted programs with limited access to help grow this next generation of scientists. Tail-wagging tutors. If you don't know about tail-wagging tutors, you are in for a treat. This was a program that was first launched, I believe, Connie, at the North Branch. We have such creative programs come out of our branches. So children that are reluctant or not confident readers get to come and read to dogs. And I don't know who enjoys it more, the kids or the dogs, but it works. And the children feel more confident, and they feel like reading is something that they can do. When we think about learning and literacy, digital literacy is important. We're spending a lot of our energy around teaching teens and also teaching adults about digital literacy, so that we have not only consumers of information, but we have creators. And creating projects and creating information in robots and in games. We had a really popular workshop on creating video games, but it teaches rigor, it teaches the science of coding, and it's fun and it's accessible. This is our teen loft. It's not unusual for 50 kids to be in that teen loft, and I hope our Robert Crown branch is even busier. And not only do we have multi-purpose room in the library, but we share multi-purpose rooms with our great partners at Parks and Rec. So there's room to expand as the need grows. This year we've had workshops where the teams have built robots, and they've also flown drones. And I'm hoping if we can negotiate time with Lawrence, that we can close the track and have an obstacle course and fly some drones around there when Robert Crown is open. But here's some girls and our staff working on building the robots, and then they had obstacle courses. Keep going. There's the obstacle courses where the kids got to see if they program the robots to successfully maneuver around. Sometimes you need one-on-one help. Sometimes you need small group help. And so we've hired some more technology trainers who in English and Spanish are producing group and one-on-one tech help. So if you got a new device for Christmas, you don't know how to use it, if you're going back into the workforce, you haven't used Excel in a while, if you have questions about how to do your job search or your research, our tech trainers can help you. And I want to stress to you that you've paid for the library, you've paid for the staff. We don't charge fees. So if you think about some of the classes that you may have attended, especially on technology, they can be pretty expensive, but we welcome you to come and learn with us. Not everyone, about 14% of our residents do not have Wi-Fi access at home. And so you can now begin your research and your job search with us, and then you can check out, and I'm going to make sure I get this back. You can check out a Wi-Fi hotspot, and you can take the internet home with you. It will activate up to 5 devices. We pay the JAD charges. You keep them for 4 weeks. That's one of the amenities you can enjoy now, and they'll certainly be circulating out of Robert Crown. Residents, adults can get together around book discussions on a variety of topics. Last year we talked about citizen and had book discussions in the library, around the library, and our partners. We provide you access to authors who are happy to talk to you about their experience in writing. We've had workshops for local authors to help you learn to write and tell your story. We've had workshops for teens and middle schoolers to help them write as well. So just a couple of slides with our authors that we featured recently. Now through a grant, we are going to be creating pop-up libraries around the city. The vehicle was donated and we wrote a grant to equip it. So this is your new mobile library that you'll be seeing around, where we can drive up and we'll be equipped with laptops. We can do pop-up computer classes. We can bring crafts. We are going to be bring books all around. If you have ideas about where you'd like the mobile library to come in your neighborhood and what you want us to bring, please sign up on the clipboard. We're happy to bring the library to you. Book bikes, we have one, we've written another grant, we'll soon have two, so one with the mobile library, when it's nice outside, look for the book bike pedaling around and bringing books to a community area near you. There's so much fun that we have, and there's so much work we have to do, helping you reach your aspirations and your dreams. We're here to help you. We are here to serve you. There's Jill Skorsky, who pedals a book bike, and she's in charge of our engagement. And so I invite you to join us in co-creating your Robert Crown Library. I invite you to sign up so that we can follow up with you. This library is going to be so beautiful, and I want you to be a part of it from the very beginning. So whether it's providing you access to information that meets your, answers your questions and helps you reach your aspirations, whether it's learning and literacy, early learning, digital literacy, lifetime learning, or engaging with us to bring you the best library service possible. I invite you to join us, and I look forward to welcoming you at your new Robert Crown Library.
Okay, thank you to our staff for those presentations. And in the end, your council members have to make decisions, and we have to make a lot of very challenging decisions. Nobody's saying that this is not an expensive project. This is an expensive project. We decided that this is a priority. We decided that it's appropriate for our community. Some of the, there's also a program that we didn't talk about. There are a variety of food programs that take place here. A lot of things happen here. I believe over 100,000 users a year. This is the most heavily used facility in the city. And one of the questions I got, and I was curious in my own mind, somebody had asked me or made a comment that most of the city resources are on a certain side of town, inferring that this was the side. So I looked at my computer and I kind of drew up a little map, and I drew a diagonal line. And I'm sorry I didn't make copies, but when I draw a diagonal line from the northwest to the southeast, in the lower section I have 2 recreation centers, one of which is this one. The upper section I have 7 recreation centers and 3 libraries. So that line also is very reflective of a demographic divide in our city. And I think that this half of the city deserves to have appropriate services. You know, the daycare and teacher counseling included. We used the daycare here a long time ago. I got 2 kids in college, 1 in high school now. I coached basketball in this gym. I know that there's not enough room on the side. So I had a daughter who figure skated for many years, hockey player, AYSO. I've come to the flea markets. So I live in the neighborhood. I'm very familiar with the needs. Long before I ran for alderman, I would come watch the ice show and see the water pour through the ceiling. So it's these kinds of things that inspire me to do the job. To me, building a strong community is what Evanston's about, and I think that we've all reflected a very strong commitment to that. And that's why so much time and energy has gone into this. Our kids in our community deserve it. And this is a place, friends are made here, dreams are formed here. At least one multi-gold medal winning Olympian has started his career here. But more important than anything else, this is where community is built. It's a space for everybody. And the idea behind this is to expand what everybody needs. So we want to be more inclusive of the whole city of Evanston and to be open and build that and continue to build that strong community. So we do want to have, we've got a bunch of time here for question and answer. Where's my wireless microphone representative? Okay, somebody's got the wireless microphone, but I don't like to see it. So, I'm sorry, there. So it's over there at the, so maybe if people want to kind of queue up over there, there's a microphone stand with a wireless microphone. And if I can kind of have the team come up here with me and join me, because I'm sure I can't answer all the math questions. Lawrence, Erica. All right, come on, guys. Okay, and if you could kind of maybe keep it to maybe like a question or a concept at a time, and then as time permits, we'll kind of give people second chances at it. Okay, yes.
First of all, thanks for putting on this meeting here tonight. My name is Wayne Lampkin, I live in the 9th Ward. I think we need a new Robert Crown Center, but I have one major question. I want Northwestern and Beacon Academy had on their website, took it down, that this was their gym. And they were going to put their name on it. And I want to know if we're building a facility for the community, then Northwestern, which has billions of dollars, and Beacon Academy, which is a private school, not a public school, they should put up more money, and they should have to pay higher fees than community-based organizations pay to use this same facility. The second question I have has to do with the library. Are we going to keep the main branch when we open this one? Because there's been rumors that once this one opens, that one that was paid for and raised by friends might get closed. So these are questions that need to be answered as we go forward. And the last is, I would like to know, is it a regulation that we have to have turf? Or is it something that we just decided to do because that raised some of the costs?
Okay, so I'm going to go in reverse order. Hold on, so stay there in case I forget any of the questions. All right, so the turf fields, do you want to do that? I'm just going to give you my anecdotal, having coached way more, 5-year-old AYSO kids than I probably, wish I had. But there aren't many turf fields in this community area. So as far as, our kids' ability to use these fields. So that was a choice. So it was a choice to have fields that can get used on, not quite a year-round basis. Obviously, you're not going to be out there today, but it extends the season much further than otherwise available. The other thing is that when the fields get torn up and overused, or if you have a bad spring with a lot of rain, you get divots and ruts and things like that, and you end up with a lot of kids with sprained ankles, or, you know, in the case of at least one adult I observed at the James Park, an adult, Neil, I think you were there maybe that day with the guy with the broken legs playing soccer. So, you know, those kinds of hazards aren't going to be as you know, as severe with that turf surface. One of the other things that this is going to be addressing, and I'm not the expert in this area, is that the water retention and the water recapture opportunities are going to be enhanced with this entire project. So environmentally, to not send the water back into the sewer system and increasing that environmental harm is also going to be of you know, value as far as the environmental impact. I think when you say the main branch, I think you mean the main street one, correct? Correct. You know, obviously the big library is not going to close. I'm not aware of any plans to close the Main Street branch. I'm not, so.
Our current budget has full funding for Chicago Avenue Main Street, as well as additional resources to open Robert Crown up later this year. This is a discussion, a public discussion we'll have at our board. My recommendation is that, given the slight overlap between Robert Crown and CAMS, it would be too soon to make any kind of decisions about whether all of our CAMS patrons come down the street to Robert Crown. I think it's too soon to guess what will happen, and so my recommendation to the board is going to be that we continue our lease next year. Please come and join the discussion. We meet the third Wednesday of every month in the evening.
And to go back to the naming rights question, and Daniel, you can correct me. The two you identified, Beacon and Northwestern, they're going to be paying for their ice time and their gym time, correct? And in addition to that, they're making a contribution to the capital cost? Okay, so they're basically, you can call it what you want, but let's say they're paying for naming rights, okay? And it's a significant amount. Northwestern, what, $1 million? Okay, and Beacon is $500,000? You know what? All day long, if somebody wants to bring $100 million, I'll put names all over the building. So that's $500,000 or $1 million. So, right, and so that's so.
Northwestern has a whole. If Northwestern had to build their own ice hockey rink, as some of the other universities around here have had to do, it would cost them a whole lot more money than $1 million.
Well, here's
I
just.
want Northwestern to put up a few more bucks, so I, as a taxpayer, don't have to.
Okay, and I'd love everybody to put a few more bucks, but we're not going to turn away any of the customers.
So it's saying negotiate a little harder.
So they have the option, I think right now they're using ice at Heartland and here, I think a couple places, and I know they've historically used other ice, but they have options. So, you know, we're not going to say no to them. If they're willing to put $1 million into the capital cost, and they're paying what everybody else is paying. So they're a customer like anybody else, but not only are they paying like everybody else, they're also contributing to the capital cost. So they're doing more than just the ordinary customer, right? Let me introduce somebody else. So, come up here. Yeah, I am, so turn around. All right, so Daniel Stein and the Friends of Crown really have been instrumental in getting this to happen. Because I mentioned before, myself and the other council members weren't comfortable on the project in particular, the fundraising, but these guys have really, you know, gotten the job done and exceeded the expectations. So Daniel, I think you have a little more explanation on those two items.
I'm not going to go into total detail because that's Erica's job, not mine. First of all, good evening, everybody. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out. This is a project I'm passionate about. The Board of Friends of Crown are also passionate about it. And first and foremost, we're all Evanstonians, and I think we have to remember that. We should treat each other with respect. There might be differences of opinion, but this is a community center, and we're a community. So I think as this evening goes on, it's really important that we keep that in mind. Friends of Robert Crown was started after my experience on rec board and watching this facility kind of slowly disintegrate and knowing we had to do something. There was proposal after proposal after proposal. nothing was happening. So when we started Friends of Crown, it's a 501c3, we knew there were people that were willing to donate, but they didn't want to give money to the city. So we started Friends of Crown, and we started soliciting donations. We have big donations, we have small donations. We did a mailing over the holidays, and one of the best donations that I saw was a $25 donation from an Evanston resident who's on a fixed income, and that meant personally to me more than $1 million from someone, because it really shows the community commitment that we have. We've had over 1,000 donors, and we really think there's good momentum for this. Just a couple facts. Northwestern University does not have a hockey team. They have a hockey club. Michigan has a hockey team. Wisconsin has a hockey team. Minnesota has a hockey team. It is a club sport. Northwestern also has a synchronized skating team. They also have a skating club. Often those organizations rent ice from Robert Crown currently. They have for years and years and years. This is not a Big Ten hockey facility. That is as false can be. I'm available for questions afterwards, but I want to hand it over to Eric. Oh, okay, take the next question, sorry. Oh my God, it's Mike here.
I have to piggyback on, my name is Mike, so first of all,
You got to talk a little louder.
I live in the 6th Ward. I also want a round of applause for building a community center on the west side. I think that's worth. What you don't stand for is the cost of the project, the way it was escalated. Up until the end of last year, literally, it was posted on the Robert Crown website as a $30 million project. $17.5 million was supposed to come from donations earned by Friends of Robert Crown. Only $10 million was supposed to come from bonds from the city of Evanston and the taxpayers. That was up until the end of last year, end of December. It was changed immediately afterwards, after an article appeared in the Evanston Roundtable challenging those numbers. So, a lot of people in town, and I think the far majority of people, don't realize this went from a $30 million project that they heard year after year after year to a $54 million project, and with interest. And I think we're going to have to ask Erica or Kate to go back to that slide on the numbers, because people I talk to tell me the interest rates and the bond issue is going to escalate over $80 million if you issue all $50 million of bonds over a 25-year period, and that's on us. And quite frankly, speaking for myself, we've been taxed out of, we're being taxed out of this town, and all respects to, orange bars going up and staying level at that point is what we were told. That's just not right, and it's not right that it keeps coming back on the taxpayers. To the gentleman who spoke before me, why not negotiate a bigger number from Northwestern University? It's not just a hockey club. Okay. They call this on their website, they call it their home rink. That sounds more like an athletic facility to me than it does a club. Beacon Academy, they had their name on a gym on their website. Magically that came down. These are things that need to be further analyzed. I understand that coming up on the 25th of February, just a few weeks away, the City Council is going to see these letters of intent from these different organizations, supposedly for the first time, although I personally know, you've seen them for a long time, and you haven't released any of them for anybody else to see. So we'd like to see the letters of intent. We'd like to see, and we'd like you to negotiate much stronger than you are, Don. This is $50 million coming out of our pockets. And I'd like my kids to live in Evanston, but I doubt they can afford to do so.
I'm trying to parse that into actual question. I mean, I understand a lot of it was commentary, but the negotiating you get what you can get, okay? And at some point, you have to go to the next one, okay? Any of these users of the gym, none of them are required to make a capital contribution. You could have people line up and say, I'm gonna use your gym, I'm gonna use your ice rink, that would be great. We wanna have the customers, we wanna generate the cash flow. And, you know, the Crown family didn't have to kick in a really extraordinary amount, but they chose to. And I sat in a room with one of the members of the Crown family, and we had conversations about what some of the, you know, the goals for a community center were. And the idea that was pervasive through the entire process, from the beginning to the end, is that this was not an ice rink, and that this was not a gym. The idea behind this, that this is a comprehensive community center. And you could build an ice rink in an inflatable bubble somewhere for not very much money, okay? And you can generate money from that. You can't include the community center, you can't include the daycare, you can't include special needs programming, you can't include all of the things that we have in an appropriate facility for a multi-use community center on a large parcel. And we, you know, so, and again, I take responsibility, I accept responsibility for the fact that this is an expensive project. When I was looking at the prospect of guaranteeing over $50 million in bonds for somebody else's project, that doesn't make any sense. To me, when the community gets together and raises over $10 million, that's actually, if you think about that, the community raised over $10 million for a city building. That is a remarkable accomplishment. And to me, it demonstrates a commitment, but it also demonstrates that it's a priority that's not just for one or two people, or not just for a rich person. It demonstrates a commitment on a very deep level. You know, kids are here. Kids use this facility. Adults use this facility. We're going to have a running track. Not everybody can afford to join EAC and use a fancy machine. So these are things that were very intentionally included in this project. The library, I live a block and a half away. My kids are lucky. They get iPads and they get a Mac in the kitchen. But a lot of kids in the neighborhood who they went to school with, the projects all got done at my house. And the papers got printed out at my house. And the internet got used at my house. And kids came to my house for lunch. Okay? That is part of building the fabric of the community. But you know what? A kid shouldn't have to come to my house for my printer. Somebody shouldn't have to ask me for that.
Don,
They should be able to come here. So that's what I'm saying. So that's
I didn't ask anything about that.
Okay.
I appreciate what you did for this kid.
All right, but I'm explaining why it's a priority to me, and I'm explaining why, to me, it's worth it. It's a lot of money, and the taxpayers pay a lot of money, but I'll share an observation about the tax bill. Because I got mine, and guess what? I'm not happy about it. You know, I have a wife who opened the envelope before I got to it. She's not happy about it, and guess who gets blamed? You know what? I'm on the council, so, you know, it's in my own house. But you look at the tax bill and you see the other taxing bodies, and we're not a very big percentage of that pie. And I got curious and I went back and I watched one of the school board's approvals of the budget, and it took no time. I don't think there were any public speakers, and it just got approved in seconds. And as a community, I'm going to be super blunt. If you care about it, you have to care about everything. So when our council makes a decision to pass a TIF district and advance money to a private business, if you're worried about the tax bill, show up for that stuff. Because you know what? When we vote on giving millions of dollars to a Trader Joe's or millions of dollars to a building, nobody shows up. Crickets. Okay? And the way I look at this, and I think the council has really trended in this direction, is to put more focus to the other thing.
Want to ask questions?
Okay, sorry, that's it. All right, so that's enough of that. Okay, so next question.
try to answer the question for you. Are you basically saying that you're not gonna ask Northwest for more money? You're not gonna ask the Academy for more money? You're not gonna ask any of these other private users who, you know, they're gonna pay a rental fee, but the rental fee, I mean, Mr. Hemingway already said, we're gonna lose money in this building.
We're going to keep asking everybody for more money all the time. Nobody's stopping, so that's going on. And another thing that nobody, I think, really pointed out clearly, the model for this includes the banking of a maintenance fund. So that's for the future generations. So when it comes to future taxpayers and the next meeting, a bill's not going to be quite as big as it is now, because there's going to be money put aside on an ongoing basis to help maintain the other building for the future. Yes, sorry, go ahead.
My name's Leslie McMillan. I'm a 25-year resident of Evanston. I'm also a 30-year veteran in the finance field. I've worked on many public-private projects in my career. I've never seen a project where there was no real way that, or explanation how this was actually going to be paid. I don't understand how this wasn't a revenue bond. I don't understand how we understand this is general bond. In other words, you always meant for this to be funded through tax increases. My other question is, by 2022, we're looking at $3.7 million of debt amortization, and then adding in whatever this facility is going to lose every year for 20 to 25 years. You can only sell the library parking lot so many times. And yes, I agree with you that we do look to you to make decisions for this city, but we also look to you to be financially and fiscally responsible. And my biggest question tonight is, how on earth was this not a referendum item? You know, I look around this town, I don't say, boy, if we're really listening to ice hockey rinks. I think people should have had the opportunity to say, hey, as a community, which you are telling us that this is a community center, as a community, we get to talk about what's going in here and how our money is going to be spent. So first and foremost, can you explain to me why this wasn't a revenue bond, how you're going to pay that $3.5, $4, $5 million every year? Because I don't believe, I think the Friends have done some fundraising. I don't think there's any possibility they're going to raise that kind of money.
So we're not asking you to raise that. So to go back and answer part of your question, and someone's holding up the sign, no taxation without representation. There are 9 representatives, and our local press ran stories about this. We had 30 meetings in the past few years. We had many meetings before that. This was talked about extensively.
At what point would you have said, if it had been $100 million, would you have said that's too much?
Sure, I would have said that was too much.
At what point would it have been too much? I mean, it just...
I'll start with the threshold question. If the fundraising didn't hit $10 million, I wouldn't have been comfortable with it, and that's what I said from the beginning. So I expected it because of the original bid for the building with us paying for the other build out. When we had a bid, there was one for $20 million that wasn't like really apples to apples. We had another bid for $55 million. So 53 in comparison to 55 doesn't seem out of line. So that's my thinking.
But let's go back to how you're going to pay. I mean, we've had such trouble balancing our budget. How are you going to pay that $3.5, $4 million every year? Where's that coming from? Could you please talk about why this wasn't a referendum item?
So we didn't choose to make it a referendum item.
Why not? You didn't want, you're saying this is a community center, but you don't want the community's input. Which is voting is a community member. That's our right.
So when I'm sitting there at the dais, voting on the $53 million project, that's the time. That's the time when it's in the papers and the newspapers are saying the prices jumped to this giant amount. I think the Tribune wrote a story about it. I don't know who else covered it. That's the time when your representatives are voting on it, and we've had a lot of meetings.
Ann Rainey in 2016 talked about making it a referendum item. Why wasn't that?
We're the ones that demanded this meeting, the ones who are concerned.
Here we are, right? But I mean, you asked the question. That's the answer.
Okay.
I voted for it. It's on an agenda. And I voted for it, and the other 8 aldermen voted for it as well.
Okay, but how are you paying that back?
Okay, Erica,
Where's
you
that
answer.
coming from?
Okay, so the slides that were up earlier with the funding charts, those are all on the city website. What you saw was, yes, we borrowed 25 million last year, we're borrowing about 16 million this year. And that's it, no more borrowing. Then we pay that back. We borrowed a lot last year because we anticipated that rates may increase this year. So we borrowed a little bit more last year than we knew we needed so that we could come into this year with cash flow still in the bank before we hit our next bond issue, which we think will be around the summer. $5 million from the Friends of Crown, which will go right to construction, so we don't have to borrow that $5 million, and then we start paying back. The money that we get from Friends of Crown, the extra $10 million that goes towards debt service, will be put towards the next 20 years of that debt so that we can smooth the payment so that it doesn't bounce around, so that we have a level payment throughout, so that each year.
We know it's 80 million with the financing costs, and you're talking about 10 million. So those numbers just don't parse.
I'm pretty familiar with the numbers. Like I said, they are on the website, and the number is 60 million after 10 million from Friends of Crown. So 70 million in principal and interest minus 10 million from Friends of Crown is $60 million. And like I said, the debt payment this year was $1 million. Next year it goes up to 1.8 million. The city portion of that will be less whatever donation we get from Friends of
Okay,
Crown.
what about by 2022 when you've issued the second bond? Then where are you?
Like I said, the 10 million that we get from Friends of Crown will be used to smooth that payment so that it averages an equal amount over the 20 years, so that we don't have a jump.
All right, so next one.
First, I would like to say that I feel like this facility is one of the most heavily used ones in Evanston. And I think this is a really great idea. Speaking from the perspective of 13-year-olds, I personally believe this would be heavily used by children of all ages. And I think that a lot of people here today don't realize the impact that this facility will have. But I was just wondering, do you plan to increase time for open gym?
Yes, we will have a lot more open time. If you heard me earlier, we can't use this gymnasium now, Monday through Friday, till after 6 p.m. The new gymnasium, we will be able to use at 6 a.m. till midnight. And so there'll be a lot of opportunity for open gym and new parking.
Mr. Risky?
My name is Janet Brisky. I'm a 35-year resident here. I've been active in the budget for many years, and active in looking at the school board's budget. I'm not going to really ask the questions, but make some statements because there's been some misinformation. The one thing, first thing I'll say, Alderman Wilson made a statement about basically the city looked at this and tried to say they could build it for no cost. Mr. Bobkowitz said that at one time. Back of Denver, local.
I never said it would be at no cost. Nobody ever said that.
The city manager
Completely
said
not.
that, Don.
Mr. Risky, nobody said that.
Yes, he did. And
No one said
I talked to him and told him what was going on, and he spent $100,000 of our money to basically prove he couldn't build it.
If we could do it at no cost, I'd get everybody a unicorn.
And Don,
Nobody said that.
let's go on. The real issue here, I'm not against Robert Crown, and I'm not against recreation. I support it on everything in this community. And, I would support even using the recycling center for recreation, which is, there are many things here. But the issue is, what people need to understand here, Robert, and you and your finance guy have not told the public what's really about to happen. And I will tell the public what's about to happen again. Robert Crown is a 7 to 10% property tax increase. But that's not your only problem here. If you look at some of the other documents here, you probably have between a 25 and 50% property tax increase coming. What happened this year at the budget hearing was a disaster. Our police officers have been cut. Wally Bobkowitz had cut the police department down by 3 officers a shift. He's trying to close the fire department. All these things here are adding up. It's not Robert Crown, Don, and you haven't told the public what this is going to be. and you keep adding things. And yes, you voted for many things that are wasting money here as far as these projects to developers and all this stuff. You voted for those things, and we could probably look at all your records.
Mr. Risky,
I'm sorry, Don.
do you have a question?
What?
Do you have a question?
I have a question. I've asked the Attorney General some questions about what's going on with FOIAs. And the issue, Don, and I'll tell you what my issue with Robert Crown is, if you want to hear it.
The Attorney General.
So,
My
Mr.
question
Risky,
is, why hasn't the city turned over
They're
all the
denying.
lies and everything that's in their possession when I FOIA those FOIA, and the city refuses to turn them over to me?
You'll have
Now
to-
the
you'll have to
Attorney
talk
General
to-
is investigating.
Mr. Risky, as you know, that's the city clerk's responsibility. I have nothing to do with FOIA requests, okay? I have nothing to do with FOIA requests, that's the city clerk, okay?
No,
So
that's the
so
city
talk to
attorney, by the
them.
way.
Talk to them.
Stop blaming the clerk.
That is, I've lived here all my life. They send it to law
Ms.
department, they
Rosinski?
deny the FOIAs right and left. I know, because I've got FOIAs in
I have a couple of questions, so I'll try to just ask the question, see if I can get an answer. First of all, I do want to point out for the city, as someone else said before, the link between the Friends and the city has been on the city website. In December 13th last year, Friends still had on their website that the project was a $30 million project. Most people are not paying a whole heck of a lot of attention to the council. We are relying on council to do things.
You can't trust them.
Last, I kind of really
Don't
checked
trust
into it, it was, as was stated on the Friends website. Today, even on our city website, it still says it's a $40 million project.
Yep.
Which is a real problem with people feeling like, John, when you tell us that there's been 30 meetings on the budget, I'm just telling you, update your website, because on the last presentation, which was August or something in 17, there hasn't been a real public engagement in over a year. And in that time, since February 2017 or 2018 to July 2018, we went from 30 million to 50 million without any real explanation. And
Right.
the Friends, what I'm very concerned about, and here is my question. The Friends negotiated for naming rights and usage rights. And the donation is not a donation, so I'm curious as to what is the donation from Northwestern, what is the amount of the donation from Beacon and any of the other ones, what is the time they bought, and why, I guess it's threefold, and why are the Friends negotiating a city entity contract?
So I think